Hi, I'm Simon McGregor. I'm an honorary research fellow at the University of Sussex. My main research focus is what we might call theoretical cognitive science, particularly motivated by the study of complex adaptive systems. One of the things that I'm particularly interested in is, roughly speaking, constructing a formalism to explain what Dennett's intentional stance might look like in maths. So how we might be able to apply Dennett's intentional stance to physical systems using an ontology that is consistent with the physical sciences. Broadly speaking, Dennett talks about the difference between what he calls explanatory stances, which are different ways of understanding or predicting the behavior of a system, and two explanatory stances that Dennett talks about that are particularly relevant here are his physical stance. The physical stance is supposed to be, you know the laws of physics, you know the physical state of the system, and you use that to predict the behavior of the system. He contrasts that with the intentional stance, in which you attribute beliefs and goals to the system, and then you predict behavior on the basis of its beliefs and goals. And he says, a rational agent behaves in such a way as to make its goals likely to occur if its beliefs were true. This idea of a system behaving as though it conformed to some normative theory of rationality, and that being a good way to link the behavior of physical systems to mentalistic concepts, is very much the approach that I follow in my work. And in the process, I started to realize that ultimately I wanted to be able to close the loop and to say, well, what does it mean for a human theorist to behave as though they were understanding this other system in terms of these variables rather than these other variables? And I came up against this concept from formal semantics of hyperintensionality. And since then, in many discussions that I've had about the nature of cognition, the nature of adaptive behavior, questions about AI and AI alignment and the risk that AI systems pose, all these kinds of conversations, I frequently found myself having to say the word hyperintensionality and then explain what I mean by that. So this talk is intended to introduce the concept of hyperintensionality to a cognitive science audience, to explain why we might care about it and why an embodied approach, particularly sensorimotor information flow in adaptive systems, why that kind of approach makes hyperintensionality look very different from the kind of framing that philosophers tend to put on.